Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're going to let people come in, so we're going to wait a couple minutes before we start. Thank you. Hello, we're waiting a minute or two to let people come into the call, so just be patient. We'll start in a few seconds. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, I am welcoming you to the Marine Biodiversity Networking Friday session. Today we have a great day. We're going to talk about advancing observations of marine life. This session is sponsored by the Marine Biodiversity Observation Network, or MBON, and I'm going to host some Frank Mueller-Karger. I'm at the University of South Florida in St. Petersburg, Florida, in the United States. And I'm welcoming today two amazing marine scientists who are dedicated to building networks to better understand marine biodiversity. One is Dr. Lina Nordlund, and the other one is Dr. Elizabeth Lawrence, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. So why do we want to measure or observe marine life? Marine life occupies the largest living space on Earth. That's the ocean. The ocean covers 70% of the Earth, a little bit more, and it presents over 90% of the biosphere. And so understanding who lives there, how they move, where different groups of species come together and create hotspots of biodiversity is one of those major questions of science that remains unanswered. And as we use the ocean more and more, it's really important that we understand how we can conserve these species, how we can use them better, how we can use ocean spaces more effectively, and preserve some of these resources for the future. So about our speakers. The first speaker is going to be Dr. Lina Nordlund. She's an associate professor at Uppsala University in Sweden, who specializes in coastal sustainability. Lina is the coordinator of the Bio-Eco-Ocean project that is funded by the European Commission, and her research explores social and ecological systems and futures thinking. She's an expert on seagrasses, fisheries, ecosystem services, and management strategies. She is also an expert member of the Biology and Ecosystems panel, what we call Bio-Eco panel, of the Global Ocean Observing System, or GOOS, and she contributes to the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development as a member of the Vision 2030 Working Group #2, which is about protecting and restoring ecosystems and biodiversity. She's also a co-author of the World Ocean Assessments #3. Elizabeth Lawrence is with IOC UNESCO, with the Project Office for the International Oceanographic Data and Information Exchange, or IODE, and she's based in Canada. Elizabeth is a Capacity Development Officer for the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, or what we call OBIS, and she is also part of the Horizon Europe project Bio-Eco-Ocean. So with OBIS, Elizabeth is responsible for creating, maintaining, and updating training resources, including the OBIS manual. She works with the Ocean Teacher Global Academy training courses and various multimedia materials. So with all that said, I'm going to let you, Lina, take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. So, is everything working with the sharing screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's see if I can move that here. So welcome to this session, and thank you so much, Frank, for that introduction. Just as Frank said, I work at Uppsala University, and I'm really interested in this interconnectedness between the marine environment, the ecosystems, and human well-being. And I'm really interested in interdisciplinary work. And just as Frank said, I'm part of the BioEco panel for the Global Ocean Observing System, working with the essential ocean variables, especially with the biology and ecosystem essential ocean variables. And within the BioEco Ocean project, this EU-funded project, we've been working on updating and especially updating the biology and ecosystem essential ocean variables. So the specification sheets, it's basically the recipes, the instructions for how these essential ocean variables should be measured and how they can be used. So this is upcoming work, and we are almost ready with this revision of the essential ocean variable specification sheets for the biology and ecosystems. So you will hear more about that, I think, in coming webinars. But when it comes to BioEco Ocean, the ultimate goal of this project is to enhance the biology and ecosystem ocean observing capacity for advancing scientific understanding of the ocean. But it's also to really try to increase the utility of ocean observations. We are a consortium. There's a lot of partners working with this. And even though it's a European Union funded project, it has a global scope. And we have almost another 3 years to go. So hopefully you will hear quite a lot more from us. And today, I had posed 2 questions. So how do we collaborate for a better understanding of life in the ocean? And how do we enable and facilitate communication at different scales and across sectors? So we believe that we need coordination and interoperability. But the question is, how do we do this? And we think that at least part of the solution is more consistent communication and collaboration among sectors and stakeholders. So we have a very in-depth and large co-creative process. And I will tell you a little bit more about that. But this co-creative process, what we are developing is a blueprint. And you can think about this blueprint as a support tool to advance ocean observations, and it's especially focusing on marine life. We can think about it as this big pile of Lego. For you that don't know Lego, it's small pieces of building blocks with a lot of kids using it to build different things. And as you can see there on the desk, we often have a lot of pieces and we can build really fun things, but sometimes we need to be a little bit more organized or structured, especially if we want to build something together with others and to build maybe something more and bigger. So hopefully, or the idea with the blueprint is that we can help improve this planning and organization so that we can build things better together and maybe manage to build this castle together, or in our case, then a more advanced marine observing system. So the blueprint is going to be question-based, and it's a support tool. So it's there to support thinking, and it's not the prescription of what one should do. And the purpose is really to spark and encourage collaboration and communication, especially across different sectors. And you should be able to also use the tool to enable future visions, to maybe come up with plans on how you would like your marine observing system to look into the future and start building those pieces. The final blueprint will be launched on a digital platform. It's going to be interactive and to have downloadable resources. And also comes with a lot of training materials, and it's planned to be launched in September 2027. So we still have time, and as I said, it's a co-creative process. It means that we are working together, we're learning from each other, and by starting to talk across the sectors, across countries, we are really starting to identify a lot of the challenges, but also really looking into solutions that others have, and then we can share these really good suggestions, good ideas, and pose these questions so other people can think about potential solutions, but also find resources that might help them overcome different challenges. And this co-creative process is a very good way also to create these more solutions-oriented and effective pathways to improve the ocean observing system. And this far in the project, where we've been working for about 15 months now, we've been having workshops, and we have really managed to target a lot of diverse stakeholders, policymakers, data managers, people that are collecting data or planning or in communications, and also with a quite global stakeholder audience, which is really, really cool. We've held sessions during conferences, but also arranged in-person meetings. We will have upcoming online workshops, and of course, we would like to invite you to participate. I will tell you a little bit more about that in a while. And we also have had surveys, and I would actually like to tell you a little bit about one of those surveys, because I know a lot of people in the MBON community has responded to this survey. So it was open during a large part of last year. We had 92 respondents from 41 countries, really covering all the different parts of the globe. And the survey was based on statements, and we wanted to know how much people agreed to these statements. And Said Hashim here, it's on the picture. He's been helping me to put these results together, and now we are working on a manuscript. So this data is not yet published, so I don't want people to start sharing it all over the world yet. But I want to bring out some highlights, because I think you deserve to hear where we are, and it puts a very nice background to this presentation as well. So the results are coming out of this survey is that, yeah, we do think that we have an understanding of marine life, but we need much more information. And we also think that global assessments are important. The respondents also think that there is quite a poor coordination among stakeholders when it comes to data collection. And that feedback from policymakers and/or data users, it's not considered enough when designing the ocean observing system. And also that local data is seldom possible to compare to other regions, nor globally. And that it can be quite hard to do so. And as you know, after me, we will hear a bit more from Elizabeth. So I also wanted to bring out some of the results that is in regard to data. Almost every respondent thought that fair data should be the norm. And I think that is a very good news. But people think it is very difficult to find ocean-related data. and data sharing can have drawbacks. And there is also quite a low awareness on how to make data available for others. And that associated metadata that is needed to make it available to others is often insufficient or missing. And in general, what we saw is that from this survey is that there's a low awareness around data, including the forecasting capacity based on the data that we have, if we're actually using the correct data in models, and if data product verification, if it's common or not. There's a lot of I don't know in that sense, and awareness and uncertainty around data quality. We also had a lot of I don't knows, or people are think we don't have it. What we also did get out of this, I think, very interesting survey is that there was a lot of good examples that were shared with us. And these good examples are things that we are now planning to bring in to the resource component of the blueprint, to help others, to provide examples, to provide solutions. So that was the survey. As I said, we have held workshops, we had the survey, and we have many more to go. So the blueprint is really evolving. It is a co-creative process. It means that we don't have a final product in mind, because this is something that we need to create together with the community. And with the community, I mean everyone that is working with something related to the ocean observing, and especially in this case of marine life. So at the moment where we are with the blueprint is this figure. It's this spider web, like really a way for us to try to illustrate how everything is connected. The planning is connected to the data products. The data products are connected to evaluation. The evaluation is connected to analysis and modeling, etc. And these different components, I will just briefly go through them. We have the explore and review to learn. I also just want to mention that these components, maybe we need more components, or maybe we can fuse different components, or just omit some components. This is what's so amazing with the co-creative process. We're doing something that we as a global community can use. But coming back to these components, we have the explore and review to learn. Here it's really about identifying knowledge gaps. What is the state of the art at the moment? What are the best practices? Is there maybe a different method that we could use? What new strategies and approaches, maybe what new technology is available? Then we have the planning component, really thinking about the purpose of the work, of the observations, or the whole observing system, the needs, why are we doing it, and for what reason. I think one thing that we often forget is to look into which other actors are involved. Can we collaborate with them? Where are they working? Can we maybe plan better in time so we have more data over the year? Are we going to use new technology, for example? Maybe we need to try it first, go back to explore and review. We have data collection. Data can be collected in the ocean, but there is also a lot of model data. There is a lot of data available openly that can be used and mined. I mean, also the rich resources we have from satellite imagery and associated products. And a very important component is the data management, which also Elizabeth will tell us more about. But what are we going to do with our data? How are we going to manage it? Where are we going to publish it? What controlled vocabularies are we using, etc. We have another component, analysis and modeling. what are we going to do? Do we have the right data for what we want to actually analyze, etc. Data products. What data products are we developing? Do we have the right data? Is the right data being collected? Is this data products, are they relevant for society? How good are these products that we want to develop? And how useful, etc. Application in society. What are the policy needs? What are the needs of the general public, managers, researchers? And how do we integrate results into this decision-making process and the policy? And communication and outreach. What is the target audience? Who are the stakeholders? What, where, and when should we communicate? And then we have the evaluation component, really about evaluating the operation, assess maybe the interconnectedness between and among all of these different components. Also to review the work that is being done and assess the stakeholders involved. Do we have the right stakeholders? Do we need to engage more stakeholders? Are we too many stakeholders? And also the importance of redefining goals and actions. So these are sort of the components. And as I said, again, it's a co-creative process. For every time we have a survey or a workshop, there are minor changes happening to these components. And it's really, really exciting to see how this blueprint is evolving. I think many of you are probably familiar with sort of the strong connection between planning and data collection. We really need to think about what are we collecting, which variables, when are we going to do it, etc. But there's probably a lot of more things that we could think about. And what we're doing in this co-creative process is to talk to people about this planning component. We talk to them about the data collection component, and we talk about the connection between the two. And you know, people from around the world, they have a lot of really good ideas, and people do things in different ways. So it's really amazing to hear and get these good ideas. And we are then trying to translate this to questions that we can pose so people can think about these potential steps or approaches themselves. And again, to also where we find really good resources, that is also something that we could share. I just wanted to give another example of two components that I think are very tightly interlinked, that I think a lot of us are very familiar with, is the data products and application in society. I think it's often driven by, okay, we have this data, we create this data product, and then society should just use that. Maybe it's not as often the other way around, that society really needs a data product, but they might not know what data products can be developed. And we might not have the right data to create those data products that would be very, very useful. So posing these questions can help us think about things that we might not think about normally. So I think this is quite intriguing. I'm actually going to jump this next picture just so you can see it. But the more questions we have, the more complex it gets. And we have now started to explore the interactive blueprint. This is very, very much just a draft, but it's going to be possible to zoom in on different links or different or multiple links. And if you're interested in participating in this this co-creative blueprint process, first of all, I mean, you're here today, and then we will have a discussion. And of course, we will record your valuable input and bring it into the blueprint development. But also on the BioEcoOcean website, it's possible to find sort of the most up-to-date version of the blueprint, feedback forms, surveys. We are just in between surveys. There will soon be a new one opening. And then you can sign up for interest to participate in upcoming in-person or online workshops for blueprint development. The people that have been part of these workshops, they have really enjoyed it because they get to meet with people and talk with people that they might not normally do about ocean observations. So they also feel that they learn a lot. And it's also a possibility to become a blueprint tester as soon as the blueprint is a little bit further developed. If you want to try it out in your local setting, we are very welcoming of that. I also want to just finish off with the BioEcoOcean project. We have a very strong component of capacity building for diverse stakeholders. And Elisabetta will talk soon. She's especially focusing on this. When it comes to ocean observations, imagine if all our sustained monitoring, but also all our observations gets shared, gets into a common computer system or computer ecosystem where this data becomes available and we can all enjoy the different types of derived products. And I think this magical box, the data, is really a key to advance our understanding of marine life. And with that, I would like to hand over to Elisabeth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lina. Before we go to Elizabeth, and I want to thank you very much for the overview of the blueprint. I want to give an acknowledgement to the AIR Center, the Atlantic International Research Center, who is the host of the Marine Biodiversity Observation Network Secretariat. And thank you for putting up this technology to allow us to share around the world the webinar live, and then they will put it on YouTube. And I think there's a fantastic opportunity for us to share. But before we go to Elizabeth, I wanted Lina, because it's kind of a transition, when you talk about data, one of the things that we try to advance is the concept that your data can be put into a context in which you can visualize regional and even global changes if you put it in a database like what Elizabeth is going to talk about. So there, OBIS provides some tools for mapping, for looking at time series, for looking at species composition, and other measures of biodiversity. And the language that we use as a community is very important so we understand each other, even across disciplines. And one of the things that you're very involved with, Lina, and also Elizabeth, is this concept of essential variables. Can you say a little bit about the essential ocean variables and how they link to the essential biodiversity variables, please?
Absolutely. So the essential ocean variables, especially if we're talking about the one from biology and ecosystems, we have 12 of those. And they have been selected, they're organism groups. So for example, it's mangroves and seagrass and phytoplankton. And they've been selected because they can tell us quite a lot about the ocean and the health of the ocean. Because we can't measure everything at all times because it's just too costly and takes too much time. This is a selection, and it's actually primary data that is being measured. So for seagrass, for example, this is species composition, percent cover, and aerial extent. So if you think about the essential ocean variables as primary data, if we put this primary data, or they are the building blocks of the essential biodiversity variables. So you need this in-water data to build the essential biodiversity variables.
Fantastic.
Did that make sense? Do you want
Yes,
some more explanation?
Well, hopefully, if people have questions about this, they can put it in the question and answer box. There's a few questions already, but we'll come back to that after Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth, welcome. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Frank. Just share screens. Okay.
Yes, it works.
Fantastic. All right. Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Lina, again, for the excellent background on the blueprint. And as she pointed out, the data often becomes a pretty big component that many of us deal with. And a big question that we usually have is, what do I do with this data? But before I answer and try to get into what do we do with data, I first want to show a few examples of what can data do and what can properly managed data do. So the first example is just a very basic distribution map of seagrass data from OBIS. And you can see we have this like nice heat map of seagrass data across the world. And while it's very basic, it can be very useful, and we can already see, especially for those of us like Lina who are experts in seagrass, there are some data missing, and so these kinds of data products, these maps, can be improved by making sure data uses the right the controlled vocabulary. Another example is this work that was done through the Pac-Man project that OBIS was a part of. So this was the Pacific Islands Marine Bioinvasions Alert Network. This was this project. And one of the outcomes from this project was an invasive species decision tool and alert system that was developed. So I have a link to it here. And basically what this portal, this tool does is it takes all observation data from OBIS as well as GBIF. So these are observations that come from eDNA work as well as traditional observations. And anytime a pest species is detected in a monitored area, there's an alert sent. This detection status can then be reviewed, and it can help inform some decision making. So here is just a small screenshot of what the portal looks like. And you can see there's the invasion detection, not only the confidence, but as well as the status. We have the confidence, the risk for the different species, and the status. So this kind of work is, again, only possible when the data is made accessible through portals, through global portals like OBIS, and with enough information in the metadata, so that way we can understand the observations and properly assess the risk and the status. And the last example I'll show is an example with animal movement. So here in this little GIF, I'm showing data from the Ocean Tracking Network. So here are 4 blue shark individuals and it's showing their movement over time. So this data comes from a data set that's published in OBIS. So again, I have the link here. And I've just created this using unique animal identifiers. And using these kind of identifiers and this kind of data allows us to see how animals are using space and how they move through time, which can be really valuable for spatial planning, trying to avoid ship strikes, and so on. And since I'm talking about animal movement, I wanted to point out a really exciting project that's coming up. So OTN is working with ANIBOS, which is the animal-borne ocean sensors, to provide a pathway for near real-time data of animal movement. So this is going to result in having the location of animals within like 24 hours, and this data is going published directly from the tags on the animal directly to OBIS. Sorry, my cat has decided now is the perfect time to walk across my desk. Okay, so these are some really cool examples of what data can do. So I think it highlights that we want to ensure data is accessible, so that way it can contribute to these data projects. And of course, the question is, well, how do we do that? And really, you want to make sure that you have a plan for data management, especially making sure data is published. So in order to help you, there's two main digital platforms that I'm going to talk about today that can really help make sure your data is accessible. So this is OBIS and ODIS. So both of them are IOC UNESCO digital platforms, and they are also both program components of IODE. So I'll give you a bit of background on both, so that way we're all on the same page. Starting with OBIS, many of you may already have heard of OBIS or be familiar with OBIS, but it is the world's largest open access repository for standardized marine biodiversity data. And so what's really cool about that is you can go and you can download and get data from over 5,000 different data sets, but it's all in the same format. It's all standardized. You don't have to worry about going to different places and trying to harmonize different formats. And there are, of course, species observation records. There's over 135 million records available in OBIS. This includes absence records as well as presence. But the data in OBIS includes more than just species occurrences. There's over 181 million different types of measurements available in OBIS. So this could be measurements associated with DNA measurements, sequences, so on. It could be measurements associated with the habitat, ecosystems, biomass, abundance, the tracking and biologging data, like I showed on the previous slide, as well as data derived from images and satellite imagery. And I also want to point out that very frequently, like OBIS data is used in international assessments, like the World Ocean Assessment. And so it can be really important and useful for getting data into OBIS. Now, ODIS, on the other hand, is the Ocean Data and Information System. And now, instead of being a repository itself, it's a federated system that helps make all ocean resources more discoverable and accessible. So it does this using a web architecture, which helps to interlink distributed systems. So this graphic here is an example of how each dot, any existing digital resource, can be made accessible to the others. So ODIS is making it easier to find each of these dots by using what we have been calling in BioEcoOcean computer language. So this is a specific type of metadata that is specified and links the digital resources across the web. It's a similar architecture that's used by Google. Yeah, so for example, like you might already have an existing data portal or a data product that your institution uses. And if you want to make this portal more accessible, more visible, you can connect it with ODIS, and it will be able to do that for you by attaching all of like the right metadata that makes it easier to find in searches. I won't go into too many details today about how to connect to OBIS, but I will mention a tool at the end of my presentation. So we have a good idea about some of the platforms we can use, but what about the actual data itself? So I find rather than thinking about data as an ambiguous entity or this big thing, I find it can be a bit easier to think about how to manage data if we break it up into different components. So there are 5 components we can think about. There's the data sets themselves, then there's information about the data sets, and there's information about the data producer. So the data producer would be the entity, of course, that's generating the data. This could be a project, a monitoring program, an institution, an organization, and so on. There's also the people involved and the data outputs. So looking at each one, sorry, my laser pointer, there it goes. So starting with the data sets, some of the information you want to make sure that's answered when you're describing your data sets and publishing your data sets. One of the first questions you want to make sure that there's information on is what was actually collected, what data, what information was collected, which EOVs, so the essential ocean variables, which biological, environmental, physical variables were actually measured. And then how was it collected? What gear did you use? What methods did you use in an ocean best practice? If so, which one? And then who collected it? And do they have an identifier that you can associate with? An important question is, where is this data going to live? Is it going to OBIS? Do you need a specialized repository like GenBank for DNA sequences? Or are you going to use Zenodo? Like where is the data going to live and how are you going to make it accessible? Which related to that last question, how are you actually going to organize your data? So this is like the spreadsheets themselves. And especially what data standards can you use to make sure that your data is going to be more easily understood? So for example, there's Darwin Core, which is the biological data standard used by OBIS and GBIF. So it's an international biological standard. Then, of course, there's the metadata, the information that describes the data set. So this is, of course, very linked with component 1. So this is the information that provides important context. So anyone reading about your data set knows exactly what context it was collected. They'll understand the utility of the data set, as well as, importantly, any limitations the data might have. So you always want to make sure that there's enough information that someone can replicate what was done. So it might include information similar to what I spoke about on the previous slide. That covers the methods used, protocols, which specific sampling devices were used, sample sizes, any statistical corrections you may have had to do, as well as what softwares were used. And because data sets and their metadata are so connected, I just want to make a quick note that any data that's published to OBIS, automatically the data sets and their metadata become visible in ODIS. So it's kind of like you publish a data set to OBIS, it becomes one of those little dots in that network, or you publish to OBIS, sorry, and then it will automatically become visible. The third data component is the data producer information. So this is, again, about any long-term projects, programs, institutions that are generating data. So the organization, the institution, what funding, who's funding the projects, and again, as well as which EOVs are measured. So why, you might be wondering, why is it important to make this data visible? Well, Lina kind of hinted at this that in the results in the survey. A lot of survey respondents noted that it was hard to coordinate data collection. And so making sure the data producer information is visible can really give us a better picture, a better map of who is doing what work and where across the world. So this can really help facilitate coordination, collaboration, and organization. So one example is the Goose BioEco portal, which does exactly that. It provides a map of all of the long-term, so greater than 5 years, projects and programs that are generating data on EOVs, specifically biological and ecosystem EOVs. And just want to point out that the workflows that are in development is if your organization is visible in OBIS or Ocean Expert, then they'll, with the right EOV keywords, they'll be automatically visible in the BioEco portal. And yeah, I have that link to the BioEco portal there if you wanted to check it out. And of course, there's the people involved. So this is the data collectors, the researchers, any taxonomists and organizations. So this is important to make sure proper accreditation occurs so everyone gets the right credit, as well as to verify expertise. For example, taxonomic identifications. It can help highlight collaboration opportunities, and as well as keeping accountability. So this is, making sure that everyone involved has appropriate identifiers, whether it's an ORCID ID, an Ocean Expert identifier, which these two can be linked. And then there's the data outputs, finally. So data outputs, data products, similar to what I showed at the beginning of the presentation. So this could be the data portals, the models and their outputs, any documents produced and maps, and then, of course, the metadata or the information describing the product. You want to make sure that this information is also managed and visible. So we have all these 5 different components. I think the question is, how do we manage them? So I've created this small little decision tree of how you can go about managing these components. Starting on the left with people, it's relatively simple, making sure that everyone involved has an identifier, again, whether it's ORCID or Ocean Expert, and that you're actually using these identifiers in the data and the metadata. Then the data set and its associated metadata. The first question you want to ask yourself is, do you know where your data is going to be published? If you do, so maybe you already have a national or institutional repository, the next question to ask is the biological data also making its way to OBIS? If yes, then we're happy. Then if not, then we go to this other side, which is we really do recommend considering OBIS for a main repository for biological and associated data. And to get data into OBIS, you can try aligning with Darwin Core, which is that biological data standard I mentioned. You can also try to align with some BioEco Ocean field data templates, which we are working on. These are more simple spreadsheet templates that are geared towards field collection. And we're also working on tools that can convert these templates to Darwin Core. And then whichever method you choose, once a data set is in Darwin Core, you're able to upload it to OBIS through our publishing platform, which is called an IPT. And on this note, I do want to point out that OBIS is a network. There are many OBIS nodes, and they are more than happy to help you not only like standardize your data. So if you have no idea where to start, feel free to reach out to an OBIS node, and they will be happy to help you organize and publish your data. Then this other side of this decision tree is the data producer metadata. I think you can probably hear me again. Sorry
Yes.
about that. It's okay? Yes.
Yes, it's okay. Go ahead.
Thanks. Yes, so you want to make sure your data producer metadata and the outputs are visible in ODIS. So that's the first question you want to ask. And if it is already visible in ODIS, that's great. Just make sure that that information is up to date. And if it's not visible in ODIS, the question is, do you know how to make it visible? If you do, fantastic. If not, then there's an EOV metadata app that we've created within BioEcoOcean that can help you become visible in ODIS, as well as that Goose BioEco portal I mentioned on the previous slides. So here is a screenshot of that EOV metadata tool. It's still in some under development. I've been working on it, and within the next month, it should be ready to go. But what it does is it provides a form-based entry, so you can provide all the information about your data producer. And then after you submit it, it will do a bunch of stuff in the background and automatically connect and make your entry visible in ODIS. So it makes that a lot easier. You don't need any technical knowledge. And then I mentioned this in the decision tree. We're also working on some data tools that will make it a lot easier for you to convert your field spreadsheets to Darwin Core. And that is everything I have to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Lina. Again, these are very good, quite dense presentations on something that is quite complex. This business of how do you standardize data is really critical, because that's the way that you can make your data comparable with other data sets around the region or around the world, to see if the change that you're seeing locally is actually something that is happening in another place and coming to you, or if the change that you're seeing is local. So there's a lot of questions in the question and answer box. Thank you, Lina, for starting to answer those. And I don't know that we have a lot of time here, but I wanted to ask both of you a question that has come up a couple times at least, is how do you use data in a system like the Blueprint, in the integrated databases like OBIS, in planning for management of ocean areas, or area-based management tools, for example?
The Blueprint is posing the questions that you should think about, or things that you could consider thinking about on what to do with your data and how to use your data, and talk to other organizations. Which ones should I talk to? Which other stakeholders? How should I communicate it? Which data, maybe to ask them, which data is needed to actually make a change or to make these decisions. So the Blueprint is there for a support tool with the questions to help you think about these things. And you sit down together looking at these questions and answering these questions together, or you realize that you cannot answer these questions together. You need to bring in more stakeholders to be able to answer these questions. I don't know if that answered the question, but I hope so.
Yeah, maybe Elizabeth, you can explain how you can use the mapping tools, the programming language that is associated with OBIS, where you can make simple maps and time series, or just like you showed a heat map for seagrasses, you can make heat maps for species richness and understand which areas have more or less diversity, which may be one element that you may want to bring into another framework, for example, to overlay ocean uses or jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some of the programming tools, we have an R package as well as a Python package. So you can use R or Python to interact and get with to get OBIS data. So that we used R to generate that distribution plot, as well as that little shark movement GIF. I also used R for that. And the back end for OBIS is largely Python, if I'm recalling correctly. And I think I missed, what was the first part of your question?
Well, one of the first things that you may want to do in designing marine protected areas or area-based management tools, so trying to understand if you have multiple uses of the ocean, so if you have fisheries or shipping or oil and gas development or recreation, how do you use marine life data to plan what is beneficial or not? If you have multiple uses competing with each other, and yet you want to know what may be affected, or how do you best manage a set of resources?
That's a really good question. If you're looking for actual for data to help inform the decision, so I'll take the example of an area. So if you want to take a look and see what data do we have for an area, you can draw a polygon. Either we have an OBIS mapper tool. You can also provide a polygon coordinates to the R to an R function. And you can get all of the species occurrence data for that area, and with that information, you're able to see, okay, well, what species are here, and starting from just a biological perspective, and then taking a look at maybe, well, who is collecting that data. You can go an extra step and make connections with some of the researchers doing the work in the area to see if there's collaborations for whatever the specific needs are for managing a specific area.
Yeah, and just to be sure, you may have mentioned it, but any of the data that is shared through OBIS gets a digital object identifier, IDOI. So people get acknowledged when they put the data into OBIS. So the data, the provenance of the data is tracked, and your data and you become part of the publication whenever it's used. At least that's the idea, no?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, every data set has a DOI and a link, and as well as we've just implemented DOIs for subsets. So if you download a subset of data, you'll get a DOI that points to all of the other DOIs of the data sets in your download. My colleague Peter Prevost has been working on that. So a big shout out to him. And I know GBIF has also been doing that. I think there's definitely some collaboration there. And then I also want to point out that for every data set in OBIS, we also show the number of times that data was downloaded. So that can be really, really interesting and valuable for you to know how often is my data set being downloaded. And it's usually many thousands, which is really, can be really useful to know that your data is actually being used.
We only have about a minute left. Are there last minute statements, Lina and Elizabeth, that you would like to give?
I would like to say one thing, that the blueprint is, when it comes to the stakeholders, it's really about everyone that is interested in marine observations of marine life. You can be a communicator working with it, or you can be a technology developer, or someone that is doing modeling. So there is no limit to the stakeholders, but you might have different entry points. If you're an MPA manager, you might want to go into application of society. That's your sort of your starting point, and then you're looking out into the connections to all the other components. And I think the more we work together as a global community, the more we can learn about the ocean, and the better we can protect the ocean. And yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, sorry, I was just answering a question in the QA. Yeah, I of course come from a data background, and I just want to emphasize, think about your data, think about like having a data management plan. It is important, but also know that there are examples and there's a lot of help in the ocean observing community, and especially within OBIS. We're very collaborative, we're very open, and really, really enthusiastic to try to help everyone get on the same page.
Yeah, and I apologize to everybody that we couldn't get to all of the questions in the chat or in the question and answer box. Hopefully we have a mechanism to have answers back to you either through YouTube or some other mechanism. But I want to thank the Air Center again and the Marine Biodiversity Observation Network for sponsoring, and the speakers, both Elizabeth and Lina, for being with us here, Joanna and Patricia, who are behind the scenes managing all the chat, all the technology. Thank you very much to you for being here. So with that, I'm going to close the session. The recording will stop, but we may hang around for a few more minutes if you want. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. This was very good. Very complex themes to handle in just 1 hour for everybody, and a lot of